Segue to something more positive, right? Fuck.
Let's go.
Because I went off on a tangent. Like, it went back. Like, military sexual trauma. That motherfucker that we worked together with.
Yeah.
You know? So is there someone in the military that you remember fondly and why?
Yeah, so story time.
Yay!
All right, so I finished up my 2 years in Washington State, and then I just got out to Okinawa. I went to, Prev Med School out here, right? And he was actually in a class ahead of me. And so he ended up going to Okinawa. I ended up going to Okinawa. And Edelbert Manania, the guy, he was vaccine coordinator, I think, at is what you guys knew him as. Well, in Okinawa, he was an HM1 at the time.
Okay. Oh, you were with him while he was active duty?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was out there, and I was, fresh HN, I got out there, and he was, I asked him, I sat him down one day, because I was a very straightforward person, but at the same time, I was not military sound as far as.
Because you're big as fuck, so you're just like, hey, okay, let's talk.
No, as far as it's not that I didn't like getting told what to do, but I understood everything, and I was like, that sounds like a stupid way to do things. How about we do it this way? It's a lot easier. And then they'd be like, no, it's got to be this way all the time, getting at me. And I'm
That's why we got along.
Yeah, and I was like, that's dumb, but all right, whatever,
Yeah.
So I'd sit him down, and I was like, hey, Ed, and he goes, yeah, I'm retiring. Well, he was retiring in Okinawa, so he was going to retire and then go back here to Cali, and he had everything lined up. And I sat, and I was like, well, I'm fresh in, how do I get to where you're at? And he said, I've never been asked that before. And I said, well, can I learn? Can you teach me?
Yeah.
And so I was like, can you teach young Padawan? Yeah.
Here you go, grasshopper.
Yeah. And so he sat me down. I remember he sat me down, and it was about a month before we were going on deployment, and he sat me down. He said, okay, here's what you need to do. He goes, before you get out, I want you to get your college degree. He's like, obviously you don't have one, you're enlisted. And I said, okay. And so then he helped me enroll in a school out there in Okinawa. And
damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so then it took me because I had 2 years of college before I came into the military. And because I had hopes and dreams. I went and played football for Kansas. I had hopes and dreams of going to the NFL.
Kansas City?
KU, Jayhawks.
Oh!
Yeah.
No, I thought, you said football, so I was like, oh, Kansas City.
Oh, no, I had hopes and dreams of playing in the NFL.
I think you could have made it.
And, collarbone said I couldn't, though. Broke it a couple times. Yeah, you can feel it. It's all weird. Feel that?
Yeah.
So anyway, he told me.
You're like, get a feel.
Come over here.
Come over.
So he
Professional.
Professional. Hey, we're on podcast. He said, get to school. And I said, okay. And he goes, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know. And he goes, okay, well, obviously you want to be preventive medicine. You want to do something, infectious control, disease, whatever, public health, environmental health. And I said, okay. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go with it. He's like, well, there's this program. And so I hopped into the program. It took me about a year and a half because it was an accelerated program, and I graduated. I got my bachelor's degree. And then he goes, I want you to now put your package in for Officers Candidate School.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So I put that in, but my package was all fucked up, so it got denied, right? Because at the battalion I was at, nobody had any experience of even though there was officers and everything like that, we didn't have any ODS officers. We didn't have anybody like that went from enlisted through the ranks, any Mustangs or anything like that. Nothing, right?
You guys didn't have career counselor's office?
We had a career counselor's office, but come on.
Is it not their fucking job? Your job is to counsel people on careers.
And so it was all fucked up. It got denied. And then, but I was on this roll already. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna hop right into the master's, right? This master's program. And so he helped me enroll into this master's program,
What?
and then he retired and he
Yeah.
left. And so while I was out there, I finished year and a half. It was about a year and a half. Yeah, I got a year and a half, and then I came back, and then I stopped because I had to transition back here. So then I came back here, and I was at the hospital.
Yeah.
And then I was at the hospital for maybe like a couple months, and I was like, man, I got to get back in this. I'm so close. And so I met up with him again because he was the one. So originally when I came back, my son had a cleft palate. Right, he was born with a cleft palate, and they were like, you either going to Virginia, Bethesda, or you going to San Diego. And I was like, I'll go to San Diego. Fuck those other two places.
Yeah, you're like,
No.
difficult choice?
Yeah, and so I went to San Diego, and I was like, well, I'm going with the Marines, right? Because that's who I've been with the whole time. And they were like, no, you got to go blue side, you got to go to the hospital. And I was like, okay, that's all right, whatever. So I go to, because they told me I couldn't deploy anymore. I couldn't, I had to be within 50-mile radius of the hospital or something like that, because he had to have major surgery and all this stuff. So I get back, and who do I meet up with is Edelbert, Ed. And he's like, well, where are you going? I was like, I don't know, I'm going to like medical, surgical, something. And I was like, I thought I was going to Prev Med because I'm a PMT. And he was like, hold on, let me work my magic here. And so he hooked it up to where I came, because they were going to archive my NEC and just make me an 8404. Oh no, make me quad zero again, so that I could work in. That's just what they were trying to do. That's what the detailer said, right? And so I got there. They didn't have to do that. I got to keep my at the time 8432.
Yeah.
So then I stayed there with you guys, and he was like, well, how's the master's program working out? And I was like, oh, I stopped. And that's, so he's the one who was like, no, start that shit back up. Let's go. You're like so close. And I said, okay. So then I started it up, and then I graduated in 2012 with the master's. And then I put in a package again. This was right before you got there. And there was only, I remember there was only one for one person, and it was a dental tech got it. And I was like, fuck this, I'm out. No, that's not the reason why, but I'm
out.
I'm done with this shit. Flipping desks. So then I was like, oh, okay, well, I've got my master's now. Let's just see what kind of position I could get. On the outside, I want to see what I could do. Let's just roll the dice and see what happens. So I made a little resume. I don't remember what website it was. It might have been like Zillow or something. But it was in its
Is it Zillow Houses?
Or not Zillow. What is it?
Indeed?
No, it wasn't Indeed. It was something else. I can't
I
remember.
know Zillow's Houses.
Zillow is Houses, yeah.
I was like,
what was it? It wasn't Indeed. It was something like that. I can't remember what it was called. Not Zillow. So
I was like, wow, let me hear. Let's see how we can help other vets with Zillow.
Market drop.
Yeah, I know, right?
And so it wasn't Indeed. ZipRecruiter.
Oh,
I knew it was a Z. It was a Z something. Zorro, Zip, Samsonite. Way off. Oh, yeah. So it was ZipRecruiter.
I'm glad I called you out on
yeah.
that, because you were just gonna
But
continue.
Zillow just
And I
keeps
was like, fuck no, that's not.
Urch. So
Pump the brakes.
So I wrote up this resume, and then I gave it to Ed at the time. He's like, the fuck is this? He's like, you've written evals before. This sounds like garbage. This is garbage, right? And I was like, oh, well, shit, I've never I went from college to the military. I didn't write no damn resumes before. Ed, how about you help me out?
Yeah.
And so he actually gave my resume to somebody, and then they kind of typed it up and made it look professional. And I was looking at it, and I was like, God damn, this looks really good. Maybe I should take a resume writing class. So I took one, this was a couple months later. Anyway, so I put my resume online, and I started getting these offers. They're like these jobs, and it was like, we think you'd be a great fit for sanitarian, disinfection control preventionist, all these things. And I was like, oh wow, but none of them had offers. It was just like I don't know, from like 60 to 110,000. It was just big gaps, and I was like, wow, you can make any type of money like that. And I was like, man, that's way more than what I make now. So then I was like, okay, let's set up these interviews. And I set up these interviews with these people, while I was in the military. And then I started taking these phone calls and stuff. Obviously, this is way before freaking, we still had Skype, so it was just a lot of phone interviews and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, I did.
And we didn't, so it was just a lot of phone interviews. And so I was getting these phone interviews and I was talking to them. Well, the one good thing about me is I can talk.
I know.
I can talk. I'm very good at talking, and so.
Kind of like Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
I'm getting canceled. For sure. That bitch could read a sign. Do not turn right. Yeah. Right turning is not right. Bitch, what? My bad. I digress.
So, I would sit there on the phone and I would basically make myself sound like I walked on water, and just.
Why not surprised? And then they fucking saw you when you went in the interview, big as fuck. Okay, we believe that.
So I would go so they would set up these interviews, right? And I would go into these interviews, and they were like, "Whoa,
yeah,
okay." And so I'm very professional, and had a little suit on, little tie, looking good, looking fly. And so I'd go in there and I'd do these interviews, and at the very end, I would always ask the question, is there anything that would prevent you from hiring me?
You asked them that?
Oh yeah, I always ask.
You would ask this when?
Well, at the end of every interview, they always say, "Do you have any questions?"
And
I'd be like, "Well, my one biggest question is there anything that would prevent you from hiring me?"
Ooh, I think that's a good tip.
Because a lot of the times in interviews, the interviewee, you never ask questions. You just sit there and you get bombarded across the table.
I ask questions.
Well, I'm saying like the majority of people will sit there and be like, they'll get questions asked from whomever, 3 people, 4 people, just a single person. And then at the end, they'll say, do you have any questions? Like, no, I think it was good. It's like, no, you got to ask. So whenever I went into these interviews, because I took that resume class and I talked to everybody else, they were like, no, make sure you ask questions. So all these businesses, corporations that I would go and do these interviews for, I would research them, be like, when were they established, who the CEO is, who the COO is, and all this stuff up and down, and figure out who they were, and then I would interview them, and then that would throw their asses off.
Yeah, because you did your homework on them.
Hold on a second, who is this guy? Yeah. So then I was still in the military at Naval Hospital there, in my little uniform. I think I was at HM2 at that time, 3, something like that.
You got out as a second class, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I got all these job offers, but at the end, was there anything that would prevent you from hiring me? But then they would call me back in for a second interview and basically offer me the job, and I'm like, actually, I'm in the military right now.
How long did you have in your contract?
About like a year and a half. So I'd always say, here's my business card. Let me have your guys' business cards, and I'll be in contact with you. And I guarantee you, I'll be the first one that you call as soon as I get out. And so
you would say that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Shit.
And
this is knowledge. This is good knowledge because people don't know that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So this is good.
And so.
So you would give them the card.
I'd give them the card. Yeah. I'd take their card. Let them know.
Then you would say some cocky shit like.
Exactly, but it's not cocky if you back it up. And so. I would confident, very confident.
Yes.
And so I would, give my spiel and everything, and then be like, okay, well, I guess we'll keep you in mind, But that just proved to me that my accolades, my training, and everything that I did for myself, on the inside, sound like prison, but kind of on the inside,
it's very similar, bro.
On the inside, it proved to me that I was going to be okay when I got out.